Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here this afternoon. It's an honor to join you with a presentation of some very important and hard work done by the Special Task Force on Highway Safety. And so the report is being issued today. But one thing I want to make clear, this report is a very important, excellent roadmap about how we can keep our roads safer. But this is not going to just be a report that sits on a shelf. This is a report that we are going to take action on. And I want to thank everyone who is a member of this task force. We had an incredible group of people that have worked on this. They were diligent, they were thoughtful, they put a lot of time into this, a lot of care into this, and a lot of passion into something that is so important to our state and to making sure that people in this state stay safe. Foremost, there are two individuals that I want to recognize that are here today that have felt this more than any of us can ever imagine. We have Beth Shaw, who is a member of the task force, and her son's life was taken by a drunk driver. Beth's strength and grace have deeply moved the task force. Thank you, Beth. You've channeled unimaginable loss into purpose and turned your pain into progress. And I promise you that your son's memory will continue to live through this important work. I also want to thank Lovety Cole. Her daughter was tragically lost her life when she was struck by a drunk driver in Manchester, just walking across the street with her father to a playground. Talk about an awful tragedy. And I want to thank you for your presence here and your courage. It means so much. And I want you to know that Rebecca's memory will continue to live on through the work being done in this task force. And we will never forget those who have lost their lives. This group represents the best of public service. We have leaders here from law enforcement. We have not only the colonel of our state police, sheriffs, local law enforcement, the chiefs. They all came together. We have the Commissioner of Transportation, Bill Cass, the transportation officials that work on our roads every day, do such important work, public health, education, community organizations, all united around one mission, and that's saving lives in New Hampshire. I want to thank and recognize everyone who's here today. We have legislators that are here from the Senate, the House. Thank you for your work, and we're going to be asking you to continue this work as we look at implementing the findings of this commission. But there are a few I want to call out, especially Commissioner Quinn, Attorney General Formella, Counselor John Stephen, who's with me. Certainly every stakeholder here contributed, and we want to thank each and every one of them. The work has been excellent. They put in a lot of time, and I'm so appreciative of this work, and I'm very glad to receive these recommendations. I also want to thank Steve Pecora from my office, who put a lot of work into this, representing me in this group, and I appreciate his work on this. This report, again, as I said, provides a roadmap for how we can continue to keep New Hampshire's roads safe, but frankly, make them safer. As we think about New Hampshire, safety, we're ranked the safest state in the nation, but when we think about our highways and our roadways, when we think about the loss we have on them, we can do better. And we are going to have a constant commitment to safety. That's what keeps us good. And every life lost on our roadways is one too many. And we owe it to every family affected by this tragedy to do whatever we can to make sure this doesn't happen again. The report makes clear that driver behavior, vehicle technology, and road conditions, they don't remain static. In fact, the use of technology continues to change. So we're going to stay ahead of those changes. The work of this task force, we have a very important report that is being issued today, but we're going to continue to keep this collaboration going on, and we will update not only to check in on the progress we've made on the recommendations in the task force, but if there's new technology, new things happening on our roads, how do we make sure that we're meeting them head on? In our state, when we look at issues like this, we come together, we can bring everyone to the table. It's a great example of how we do things in New Hampshire. We look at the facts, we listen to stakeholders, and we work together across agencies and communities to get results. And we will always remain practical, collaborative, and focused on keeping our roads safe. So we will continue this shared responsibility. We'll continue to honor those we've lost by ensuring fewer families have to experience that pain again. And my administration will continue to work very closely with the task force, our public safety partners, our transportation partners, and the legislature to make sure our roads are safe. Some of the key legislative efforts that are already introduced in this session, and there are many, you will see many recommendations in this task force, and I know others are going to speak to them. But there's a couple that I want to highlight, and number one, we are together going to work to remove dangerous, drunk, and drugged drivers from our roads. That is our goal, and there are a couple of things that we can do immediately, and I see the legislators here that we can work together on. For example, DUI refusals. There are too many, and we have to equalize the penalties so that people understand that if you're driving intoxicated on our roads, that you can't just refuse to take the test and somehow you won't receive a penalty for that. Second, wrong way drivers, excessive speeding. We're going to increase penalties for those types of offenses, and it's important because I can tell you the one ride along I did with the state police, what I experienced very quickly, I was shocked at how quickly we saw people going over 100 miles an hour on our highways. And the troopers told me that this is something they experience every day. And I also know that our state and local police experience it as well. And as we think about our roadways beyond the highways, especially some of these more curvy areas, all it takes is a little speed. And you know what? That could be a tragedy. And so we really want to make sure people understand there's going to be a heavy penalty for excessive speed, and also for, unfortunately, we've seen too much wrong way driving. There are many other recommendations in this report that I know others will speak to, but I look forward to working with each and every member of the legislature who are here today. I thank them for their commitment. For the stakeholders who are here, for safety, transportation, for our counselor. We're going to get this done, and this is really only the beginning of an effort to keep New Hampshire's roads safer. And with that, I'm honored to pass this along to Commissioner Quinn, the head of the Department of Safety, and he will discuss the report in more detail. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. As the governor mentioned, my name is Robert Quinn, Commissioner of the Department of Safety. It truly was an honor to serve as an appointed member of the governor's Special Task Force on Highway Safety. Since the task force was announced in March, we have been working collaboratively to take an in-depth look at what we are doing and what we can do better to keep people safe in New Hampshire's roads. I want to sincerely thank everyone who has and continues to partner with us in support of this work, especially the police, the troopers, the local law enforcement, and our sheriffs who are out there 24/7 doing this dangerous work. Today we are announcing our preliminary recommendations. The task force concluded that increased enforcement, enhanced education and training, and several rule and policy changes will help improve highway safety and ultimately result in fewer deaths on our roads, along with a decrease in incidents involving impaired driving. In many cases, small changes will make a big difference in combating the top issues that are killing or seriously injuring granted status: impairment, speed, and distraction. On the impairment front, one of our primary recommendations, as the governor said, is strengthening consequences for drivers who get behind the wheel drunk or under the influence of drugs. This includes quickly taking administrative action, such as suspending driving privileges, to quickly remove dangerous and reckless drivers from our roads. We also support increased penalties for those who refuse blood or breath tests to assess their BAC levels. Another recommendation addresses the ongoing excessive and reckless speed we are witnessing. Beginning immediately, we are asking all state, county, and local law enforcement agencies to join us in increased high-visibility patrols. We're also enhancing the process in coordination with law enforcement for immediate administrative driving privilege suspensions to hold these drivers accountable. Today, we're also pushing for new efforts to stop wrong-way drivers. The numbers show these types of crashes continue to rise in our state. They also tend to be more severe with devastating consequences. We're asking law enforcement to institute consistent response practices and to deploy high-visibility patrols based on data. We're also working closely with the Department of Transportation, Commissioner Cass and his team to implement countermeasures and enhancements to road design. The work does not end today, as the governor said. In this report, we recommend that the Traffic Safety Commission convene at least monthly. This commission, comprised of all types of roadway users, should track fresh and current data, evaluate enforcement efforts, and refine policy options before emerging risks harden into statewide trends. At the Department of Safety, and I know across all law enforcement, our commitment to improving road safety is unwavering. Our Office of Highway Safety will continue to fund enforcement efforts and promote educational campaigns. But we can't do this alone. We need the partnerships of everybody that's up here today and you that have joined us. And for all of you at home, to reduce crashes and save lives. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to work with Governor Ayotte and other members of the task force. Please join us in these efforts and get home safety to your loved ones. Thank you very much. Thank you, Governor.
Well, good afternoon. I just want to start by thanking the governor for putting this task force together, this highway safety task force. Thank Commissioner Quinn, Executive Counselor Stephen, and all of my fellow members of the task force. At the Department of Justice, our job is to protect public safety across the state and use every tool at our disposal to do that. It strikes me that often people think a lot more about the murders that happen in this state. We deal with 20 to 30 murders every year. The reality, though, is that we're losing a lot more lives on our roads every year than we are to the murder cases that the Department of Justice handles. And I think that really warrants more attention, it warrants more focus, and that's why this task force was put together, so that we can protect public safety by ensuring that we're doing everything we can to keep our roadways safe. The report that we're issuing today has a lot of recommendations in it. Some of them cover legislative changes, and legislative changes are important. But one of the thrusts that you'll see in this report is that we really can be doing more to enforce the laws that we currently have on the books. We have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to enforce what we've got on the books as effectively as possible. And that's what we're going to be focused on at DOJ. We've just recently expanded our traffic safety resource unit to include now a full-time prosecutor, a full-time investigative paralegal. And using that, we're going to take these recommendations and really make sure that we're working with law enforcement and prosecutors across the state. How do we do that? It's a number of things. We first have to step up our efforts to collect and analyze data. There's a couple things that exist in statute right now where we can collect and analyze data as to how traffic safety cases are being handled across the state. We've got to step up our efforts on that front. And that work has already begun. We didn't even wait for the issuance of this report to get that work underway. State law currently requires that prosecutors who handle traffic safety cases, if they have a plea down for a DWI case, that they report that to the Department of Justice and they report the reasons for that. In recent years, we've seen a lag in that reporting. We recently put out a directive to all prosecutors who handle these cases around the state, making sure that they get these reports in. And over the past 6 months, we've already seen more reports come in than came in during all of calendar year 24 total. So we've already seen prosecutors around the state stepping up, submitting those reports, making sure that we have the data we need to analyze what's going on in the field. There's a number of recommendations in this report that enhance that step up our reporting of data, that add to the list of times when prosecutors need to report to the Department of Justice. So we're going to collect and analyze data. We're going to step up our training efforts. The report recommends, and we will do this at the Department of Justice, the report recommends that the Department of Justice become a central hub for training and guidance for those who are handling traffic safety cases around the state. We're going to do that. Alexandra Morell is here today. She's our traffic safety resource prosecutor, and she's been going around the state, putting on trainings, going to every county. She tries to have one training or one event in every county every month. We're stepping up those efforts to ensure that we're providing training and resources. We also need to make sure that we're standardizing our enforcement practices and standardizing what prosecutors are doing when they're handling these cases. So this report calls for a number of directives and guidance documents for the DOJ to issue. That work on those is underway. We will be issuing additional directives and guidance documents to prosecutors and law enforcement around the state to make sure that they're, again, enforcing the laws that we have on the books as effectively as we can. That's really important. We need new legislation, we need new tools, but we've got to use the tools that are in our toolbox and make sure that we're actually, using that to the maximum extent possible. And then public awareness. I think we all have a part to play in public awareness, but the DOJ, we certainly have a part to play in that. As the chief law enforcement agency of the state, we have a real ability to generate attention and generate focus on public safety issues, and we need to make this a priority at the DOJ, just like we're doing with everyone here on the task force, and we will be doing that, making sure that people understand that traffic safety, safety on our roads has to be a top priority for protecting public safety. Make sure people understand more people are dying on our roads, far more people are dying on our roads than the cases that we handle that get a lot of attention. We need people to understand that, understand how important this is. So we're looking forward to doing that work at the Department of Justice. We're looking forward to stepping up our efforts. We've already seen the results. We've already seen more data coming in, more compliance from prosecutors around the state. So this concept works. When the DOJ speaks, when the Attorney General sends out guidance and messaging, law enforcement and prosecutors listen. So it's incumbent on me, it's incumbent on our office to do that, and we're prepared to do that. I just want to thank the governor again for putting this task force together. I want to thank all of my fellow task force members. Looking forward to working with all of you to put these recommendations into effect. I think the governor said it. Recommendations in a report are only as good as the efforts to implement them. But at the chief law enforcement agency of the state, at the Department of Safety, at law enforcement agencies around the state, we're ready to do that. We're ready to get to work, and we're looking forward to that work. So thank you.
Counselor Stephen?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor, for your vision in creating this task force. And I come here today to talk about the collaboration, really, that I've seen in working with these different agencies from local, state, and all over the state, from different community stakeholders as well, to ensure effective road safety. We've all seen the heartbreaking headlines: families shattered, communities mourning, and lives lost too soon. There's the truth that I've come to believe deeply in. No single agency, no lone hero in uniform can turn the tide alone. It takes a chorus, a powerful, unified chorus of voices and hands working as one. That's why initiatives like this task force that was convened by Governor Ayotte fills me with such great hope. By weaving together state agencies, local law enforcement, legislators, private partners like AAA, advocates, voices of victims and families, we've crafted recommendations here that are not just smart, but truly transformative. And I've been around a long time looking at the highway safety issues. But Governor Ayotte has a vision to bring together all these entities to save lives. This isn't a bureaucracy. It isn't about growing government. It's a collaboration and it's action. State experts are bringing data and policy muscle. Local officers deliver on-the-ground insights. The private sector innovates with technology and resources. Advocacy groups amplify the human stories that demand change. And the families, They remind us every day why we fight. Effective highway safety is not a solo sprint. It's a safety race across government, the private sector, and our most passionate advocates. When we pool all those strengths together, we don't just patch potholes, we prevent tragedies. We reduce crashes, we save lives, and we build roads where every driver drives home safely. Governor, I commend you for your leadership in sparking this partnership, and I'm so eager to work with this task force. And as the governor said, this will not, under her leadership, be a report that sits on someone's shelf. This will be a report that is a call to action and will be reviewed and looked at by every entity of government and the private sector in the future. And at the end of the day, we will be here to tell you we've saved lives. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Councilman. Take a question?
Okay.
I think so. Questions?
Governor, just with the difficulty with some of those TWI bills over the last couple of years, obviously this being your first year, but this emphasis on being able to enforce the laws on the books, it seems like that, for now, is going to have to be the way you do it unless you can convince some people in the House to change their mind.
Well, you know, first of all, I see a number of legislators here today, especially our senators. And I know Senator Gannon has already introduced some of these bills, and I know others who are here are going to join in on it too. So I'm optimistic because, listen, we're going to do everything we can, as the Attorney General said, to make sure that we are enforcing the laws that are on the books to the full extent we can. But in addition to that, we do need some improvements in our laws. And it seems to me that these tragedies, that would speak to any legislator. As you think about it, but for the grace of God go I, could be any one of our family members that gets hit by a drunk driver or a distracted driver or someone at excessive speed. And you would hope that legislators could put themselves in the shoes of being in that situation. And so we're going to push as hard as we can, both in the House and the Senate, to get this done. And I appreciate the legislators that are here today and the commitment that they've made to help me do that.
Governor, more enforcement and safer roads means more money. You're already in a budget that's under plan. Do you have the money to implement what you've been talking about here this morning?
You know, when it comes to public safety, it's a top priority, and we will make it happen, Michael. And I'm confident that sitting here with the Commissioner of Safety, the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, others who are in this room, Executive Council or Legislature, there's no greater priority. And we will make sure that the resources we have are allocated to this priority. And if we need more resources, we'll figure it out and we'll get it done. Because we owe people in this state to be able to drive on their roads safety. And it's also awesome to have private sector partners like AAA who have partnered with us on, for example, distracted driving campaign. So we have other partners that can work with us as well.
Quick follow-up, the gas tax's value after inflation has dropped by 1/3 since it was raised 22 cents in, 2014. So you've got 2/3 as much money. You've got more roads to maintain, more drivers on them. Do you have a revenue stream that can cover maintaining and policing our roads?
Well, I actually don't think that the gas tax is influencing, unfortunately, drunk drivers or excessive speed. And certainly, when the way I look at this, these are some immediate criminal issues, some immediate excessive speed issues. So, of course, we want to make sure that the structure of our roads is very safe. I know our commissioner looks at that every single day. And one of the things that he's prioritized, and our council has too, in the 10-year highway plan, as we're looking at it, is maintenance, making sure that what we have is well maintained. So again, we will do what we need to do, but when it comes to this, I really think that we have the tools that we need. We need to have some better laws in some places, and we're going to do this.
But does this report kind of confirm that there's been this inconsistent or almost lax enforcement about DWI laws now, when half of the administration suspensions hearings that are requested result in any punishment?
You want to speak to that, General?
Yeah. Yeah, I think inconsistent enforcement at times, yes. I don't want to use the word lax because I do believe that our law enforcement and prosecutors around the state do a great job. They care a lot about this. Their mission is to protect public safety, right? But I think we can do a better job at the Department of Justice and at the state level, providing that guidance, providing training, being a central coordinator, because prosecutors and law enforcement working in their communities, they're working every day to keep people safe in their communities. They're focused on the cases that they have in front of them. They don't have the ability that we do to step back and see the bigger picture and provide that coordination, provide guidance and support, provide training. So I think it's really about that. It's about prioritizing it at the state level, providing guidance, support, training, and ensuring or doing the job that we need to do to ensure that there are standard practices across the state. I don't think it's lax enforcement. I think that our law enforcement and prosecutors can use more support and more guidance.
And let me just say this, excuse me, I'll have the commissioner speak to this, but, I mean, this issue of refusal cries out for a change in our laws, right? Because, and Commissioner, if you want to speak to how that plays out, because it's an important issue.
Sure, thank you, Governor. I think really, I'm sorry, thank you. I think in short, what we're trying to do is incentivize the public, the motoring public, who have agreed when they get a license to submit to a breath or a chemical test to reward that type of behavior. We have many members of the public that might get stopped, they've made a mistake, they submit to roadside testing, portable breath test, chemical test, and then they could potentially face a greater penalty because they've submitted to these tests and cooperated. So what we want to do is, now that we could be, I believe we are the highest refusal rate now, we have been really looking at this for a long time as to why. And so we want to ensure that, I mean, in short, if you refuse to take a breath test, those penalties should be severe, and we should not incentivize that, making it clear whether it's with our current administrative rules or enhanced rules. So again, it's about really rewarding good behavior and not incentivizing bad behavior.
Yeah, the incentives are misaligned right now, and we need to fix that.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, it seems like the numbers for people going over 100 miles an hour and over 90 miles an hour have really increased. Is there any thought to why that has occurred here in the last couple of years?
You want to speak to that, or Colonel? Either one, yeah.
Yeah. So
Or,
we have
yeah.
Lieutenant
Or Chris, we'll have Chris,
Storm.
Lieutenant Storm come up.
It's Lieutenant Chris Storm, but I wanted you to understand, he oversees the Office of Highway Safety, which is fully funded, and he puts these programs out, the speed patrols, distracted driver patrols, DWI patrols, all the messaging, which is robust, and they're very busy. So he's really our traffic safety expert.
I think you can see a magnitude of different things that have caused this to increase. Commissioner Cass has done an unbelievable job in New Hampshire by keeping good roads, right? We have good roads here, so they're able to go that quickly. Technology's changed. Vehicles are going a lot quicker than they used to go. I think we've seen a national culture change that people really aren't paying attention to speed limits anymore. They're just going as fast as they possibly can. They're distracted by lots of different things. They're not paying attention to what's actually occurring on our roadways or what's occurring around them. So I think you're seeing a magnitude of different things coming together. And then you saw for a while during the COVID era that there was nobody out on the road, so people just started going really, really quickly. And we were trying to keep our officers and our people safe during the COVID era. That's starting to change, and I can assure you that the New Hampshire State Police, I can speak to that our numbers and our local law enforcement's numbers for enforcement is going up exponentially each year since COVID's happened to hopefully kind of stymie what's going on out there.
Look, we all know the problem, it's Massachusetts drivers, they're terrible. None of you enforce the speed limit, particularly not the governor. But no, seriously, we see a lot of times these cases are people from Mass or Maine on our roads speeding. Are you getting the cooperation you need from the neighboring states? Can you do the enforcement from this side without their getting cooperation?
Yeah, so the Colonel works very closely with all of our New England partners, but one thing I want to highlight, one of the recommendations that came here, and I want to give recognition to Councilor Stevens, a lot of focus was put on the administrative license suspensions that we can do. So if someone gets caught driving today at one of these high excessive speeds, he or she might not go to court for 30, 60, 90 days. We're taking immediate administrative action through the Director of Motor Vehicles for this reckless and dangerous speeds to get them off the road and show them that this is not acceptable. So that's something that's new, and we're seeing these administrative suspension requests increase, and that's with our county, local, and state troopers. So that's a tool that's going to be new, and I think that will have an effect, and it sends a message that tomorrow the ball's going to get moving here. You were driving 120, 130 miles an hour, we're going to take action on your license. So, and I don't want to speak for the Colonel, but Colonel, your partnership with the other states?
We have a great partnership with all of our neighboring states as far as enforcement of, we've done saturation patrols with DWIs and speed on 95, 93, and that's been very helpful with cooperation from those states.
Thank you, everyone.
Just one more quick question.
Adam?
A little off topic. Attorney General, do you have any comment on Justice Hans Marconi being reinstated so quickly yesterday?
I guess I'll say this, Adam. Yesterday, a sitting Supreme Court justice in our state was convicted of a crime, criminal misuse, or criminal solicitation of misuse of position. The Department of Justice did its work in this case. We brought this case because information came to us that led us to believe an investigation was necessary. We ultimately charged the case because we felt that Justice Hans Marconi had violated the law. We felt that she had violated the law by asking then Governor Sununu to secure privileges for her that she wasn't entitled to. And ultimately, she was convicted of that conduct. But the criminal case is now over. As to the decision that the court made to rescind the orders putting her on leave, that's not a decision we expected. It's not a decision we were aware would happen. I think I would say that from the perspective of the DOJ, we're disappointed in that decision, but it's not our decision to make. It's a decision for the court to make. So beyond that, I have no comment on that, but other than to say that I'm proud of the work the DOJ did in the case, and the criminal case is over. So as far as what else is going to happen, that's a decision for others to make.